We begin here at 6 tonight with all eyes and concerns on Washington, D.C. tonight as investigators continue their mission to recover 67 victims from last night's mid-air collision. In a briefing this afternoon, the NTSB said it's just too early to determine what caused the crash, but a preliminary report will be ready in 30 days. And sources confirmed to CBS News only one air traffic controller was working at the time, a job normally done by 2 people. A law enforcement source tells CBS News at least 40 bodies have been recovered. And we are learning more about who exactly was on the American Airlines plane, including a group of figure skaters, coaches, and their families. Live pictures now from the Potomac, where the recovery mission continues, still working to recover the bodies of the remaining victims and also the wreckage from both aircrafts. We have team coverage for you here tonight at 6. Let's begin with investigative reporter Tim McNicholas. He is live in our nation's capital. Tim.
Christine, this area behind me is a home base for firefighters as they continue their recovery efforts. You can see fire trucks and other emergency vehicles behind me, and I am told that now that sundown has arrived, they will be ceasing those recovery efforts until tomorrow. Federal authorities say they'll also be searching the water for flight data recorders or black boxes, which could contain critical information about flight paths. The moment of impact captured by EarthCam video. Sources tell CBS News that one air traffic controller was managing the helicopters and planes from the Reagan National Airport tower at the time of the collision, a job normally done by 2 people. CBS News has obtained an audio recording of communication between the tower and helicopter pilot moments before the collision.
S25, get the CRJ in flight. S25, pass on this CRJ.
This club has an aircraft in flight for separation.
Separate. .472 Washington Tower, 1 star, 32017.
When the air traffic controller said, "Do you see?" he was talking about, "Do you see him?" But there was very little time left when that was stated.
The National Transportation Safety Board, or NTSB, says they're just beginning their investigation and don't know the cause.
We look at the human, the machine, and the environment. So we will look at all the humans that were involved in this accident.
67 people were on board the 2 aircraft that collided, 3 on the military helicopter and 64 on a passenger plane that departed from Wichita, Kansas. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth says the Black Hawk helicopter, similar to this one, was operated by a fairly experienced crew on a routine annual training mission.
Tragically, last night, a mistake was made. And I think the president is right. There was some sort of an elevation issue that we have immediately begun investigating at the DOD and Army level.
President Trump said this about the helicopter.
It did somewhat the opposite of what it was told. We don't know that that would have been the difference because the timing was so tight.
And the National Union for Air Traffic Controllers says it stands by its members and it is ready to work with the Trump administration on any efforts to modernize the air traffic controller system and improve safety. Christine.
You know, Tim, there is a clear shortage of air traffic controllers, and you have reported extensively on this issue. How has it affected our area specifically?
Well, you know, Christine, it has actually hit New York City especially hard. Back in the spring, we reported that New York's main air traffic control center is staffed at just about 60% of where the FAA wants it to be.
All right, Tim McNicholas in our nation's capital tonight with the latest on the crash and the investigation. Tim has extensively covered near collisions at airports, the air traffic controller shortage, as we just mentioned, and also how air travel has been impacted. You can find all of his reporting at cbsnewyork.com. We're also learning more here tonight about who some of the victims are, their families, heartbreaking reaction to the news. As Alice Gainer explains, many of them were from the figure skating community.
A memorial grows at the Ashburn Ice House in Virginia, where the general manager says some of his members were on the American Airlines plane.
It's a shame that the community has to experience this, and the potential of several individuals no longer participating. It leaves a void.
U.S. figure skating said athletes, coaches, and family members were returning last night from the National Development Camp held in conjunction with the U.S. Figure Skating Championships in Kansas. Russian-born ice skating coaches and former world champions Zhenya Shishkova and Vadim Nomov, who were married, were also on board the plane.
We just wanted to be here and be part of our community. I've never seen anyone love skating as much as these two, and that's why I think it hurts so much.
Figure skating legend Nancy Kerrigan cried as she joined the Skating Club of Boston in mourning the coaches and others.
It's a close, tight bond, and I think for all of us, we have lost family.
Two skaters, 16-year-old Spencer Lane and Gina Hahn, and their mothers Christine and Jin, were also on board. Spencer's father says he and his wife adopted their two sons from South Korea and describes Spencer as a force of nature.
Just loved by everyone, from the adults running the club to the smallest skaters to the people that are, competing for a shot at the Olympics. They all just adored him.
The co-pilot of the American Airlines plane has been identified as Sam Lilly. He was engaged to be married this fall, and the crew chief on the helicopter was 29-year-old Ryan O'Hara, who leaves behind a wife and one-year-old son. Every story we hear all day long as more and more identifications are released, it's just so heartbreaking.
It's really hard to find the words to describe and imagine what these families are feeling today. Alice, thank you for giving some of that information to us. And by the way, our local skating community is paying tribute as well. Zinnia Maldonado spoke to coaches at the Ice House rink in New Jersey who say that they knew the victims.
Inside the Ice House rink in Hackensack, a somber quietness among those on the ice. Craig Marizzi is the Ice House figure skating director. He tells us his wife was in Wichita, Kansas for the training camp, but flew back to New Jersey Sunday. The pair knows multiple victims.
We all know each other, and we all are friendly, and it's just shocking to lose so many all at once.
Marizzi says two of the young victims were set to train right here at the Ice House next week.
Our choreographer here, told me that she's like, oh my God, I think that I'm supposed to teach them next week, and looked at her schedule and like, oh, that really hits home.
Adam Lieb is an Olympic analyst and figure skating coach on Long Island. He says he knew identified victims, world champion Russian skating pair and husband and wife, Zhenya Shishkova and Vadim Nomov.
I knew Evgeny and Vadim for like 30 years. I judged their son since he was a beginning skater. It's unimaginable what he's going to have to go through over the next, phase of his life, being that these were his role models, his mentors, his mom and dad.
Both expressing how the loss of so many lives will impact the future of figure skating and the victims' loved ones forever.
These kids were the creme de la creme.
You watch the children grow, and then to have something like this lost, it's a loss of the future.
From Hackensack, New Jersey, Zinnia Maldonado, CBS News, New York.
And continuing our team coverage now, we're joined by Kit Darby. He is the president of Kit Darby Aviation Consulting. Kit, thanks for taking the time here with us today. First question I'd like to ask you is, what key pieces of data will investigators be looking for first?
Well, Christine, thanks for having me on. We've already got some really good information. Videos, we're fortunate to be able to see those. We have audio from the tower. We're going to have the details from the airplane. At least the airliner has both a flight data recorder, which will tell us everything about what the airplane was doing, and a voice recorder, which will tell us what the pilots were thinking and what they were doing. The information on the helicopter is a little more difficult. I don't believe it has a flight recorder and a voice recorder, and it's ADSB information, which is satellite-based navigation transmitted at satellite radar. That was not being used. They were using a military telemetry, so we're going to have less there, and that is going to be critical. Slow it down just a little bit. We should have a preliminary report in under 30 days, and regrettably, these final reports can take up to a year.
Well, I know the NTSB did say to expect that preliminary report in 30 days. Let's move on to the airspace near Reagan International Airport. We've been talking and hearing today from many experts saying that it's a very small area for the amount of traffic that it sees, and also in addition to the military operations that commercial aircraft is combined with. What are your concerns there?
Well, when we see a slot-constrained airport like this one, we know that there are more people that want to go there than there is space. So the commercial operations at the airport are limited for a reason. We have several large military, Air Force, Marine, Army bases in the area. We have the normal law enforcement contingent, and we have security, of course, for our nation's capital. So when you combine all those, this is really busy. I've flown in that airspace. Not helicopters, but airplanes, and both as an airline pilot and as a military pilot. And I can tell you it's maxed. You know, it's as busy as it could be. But looking back, you know, hundreds of thousands of operations have occurred over decades, and it's been done safely. So something went wrong here. We need to figure out what it is. We'd have to say at this point, we don't know. We have some possibilities, but we'll have to wait for more information to make a final decision.
All right, Kit Darby, we appreciate your perspective on this as the NTSB and the government continue their investigation. And of course, remember all the victims. We've got more coverage on our website. There you can find our live blog with the latest and also more information on the Boston ice skating team. It's all at cbsnewyork.com.